The education scenario in India is changing very rapidly. It's changing by leaps and bounds every day. And one reason for that, of course, is the advent of technology, advent of what we have now come to know in common parlance as edutech, a word that is just so mainstream now, which is basically combining technology with education, hoping to get it to a vast number of people. Of course, remember, getting quality education to a country like India, to every corner of a country like India, access of that quality education, of course, still remains a big challenge. Can edutech be the game changer? That's what we're going to be looking at today. Let me introduce my panel to you. I'm joined by Pratyush Kukreja. He's a consultant at Unitus Seed Fund, which is an investment fund which provides seed funding to social enterprise. Saurabh Arya, founder and CEO of Delhi-based Smart Education, working towards making education personalized for students. There's Mukul Rustagi, co-founder at XPrep, which is sort of solving the involved in the tutor-parent network involving tutors. Also, Priyadeep Sinha joining us from Bangalore. He's a founder at Gyan Lab, which is an online adaptive personalized learning platform. Thanks all so much for taking our time to speak to us. Once again, wondering where the women are on this panel and why EdTech doesn't seem to be a space that has too many women, though of course that is not quite representative of the panel here. But let's get started right away. Mukul, let me start by asking you, you know, we're looking at a country where after all these years, getting, like I said in the beginning, access to quality education to everyone is still a big challenge. Yep. With the advent of technology, and now given how digital India might just sort of get all of us on the same digital platform, do you believe that EdTech has a key role to play?
Yes, EdTech does have a key role to play. One basic point that we realized very early in our journey is that the advent of technology should not drive us to just be an online play into an education thing. So education in India, as far as the parents' mindset and the students' mindset go, we have to combine the best of the both worlds, the online and the offline world, where maybe you can supplement the offline education in an online way or the other way. So that is the major learning that we put on. So yeah. That's the major role.
And that's an important point, because very often, Saurabh, we need to sort of keep underscoring the point that EdTech is not here to replace conventional classrooms. It's not going to take away from brick and mortar as we know it. Brick and mortar is going to stay. This is going to supplement it. This is going to be an add-on. This is going to perhaps bring more onto the table as far as the student is concerned.
See, fundamentally for students, teachers, parents, everyone wants better learning.
Sure.
Okay. For maybe 20 years ago, better learning, the only source for that was physical classroom one-to-one teaching. Okay, but as digital has sort of reached almost everybody in the country, there's obviously that much resources that are available for us to improve the learning process, and that's where digital comes in. There are places where teachers and digital go sort of hand in hand in urban centers, upmarket centers. As you go in tier 2, tier 3, teachers, as all of us know, either are not there or their quality is not up to the mark. So digital can hopefully play a much more prominent role over there.
Priyadeep Sinha, comment on that, because very often one has come across situations where people are still not sure what the advantage will be of getting into digital tech. Is there still a perception problem is what I'm trying to get at. We've seen the big successes of, say, a Coursera, a Khan Academy, how they've done what they've done. So these are names that are now very mainstream. Everyone's sort of very familiar with them. So in a sense, that benefits a sector like EdTech. But what do you believe are the key challenges? Is perception still an issue, or is that a hurdle that you've overcome?
No, it is, Natasha. You know, to be very frank, right now the problem is that, you know, in brick and mortar, people are getting to see things. I mean, if you go to a school, you know, parents is able to see, okay, these are the teachers, this is the principal, this is the school's ground. Everything is visible there. Moment it comes to digital and EdTech, right? I mean, it's just that you know, for people to believe that, oh, if I do a degree from Coursera, does it mean that, you know, I get a college degree? So that kind of you know, I mean, know-how, there is a lack of it.
Saurabh, would you agree?
I do. I think a knowledgeable soul I was interacting with gave it a good twist. So he said that the problem with education and EdTech is that it's difficult for us to tangibilize things.
Right.
Okay. In a school, like he said, everything is in front of you.
It's all there.
Yeah. E-commerce, you get something at your home and you pay for it.
Right.
Improving learning, making it better, somehow it's difficult to tangibilize. And the moment we are able to do it, it's easier for parents and teachers to accept it. And I think that's the way forward. Tangibilization is the key.
Right. Pratyush, you know, you're involved with sort of these early stage startups, providing seed funding to them. Education, of course, being one of the biggest areas that we need to focus on, given the young country, given that it's hungry for knowledge. Despite all these challenges, do you sort of see EdTech as one sector that we're seeing more and more ideas, seeing more and more possibilities of disruption, as it were?
Yeah, so we see some amazing products coming out which are enabling learning, which are solving some specific problems, right? So continuous learning, once you're out of school, once you're out of your high school or post-grad or undergrad, people still want to learn and adapt and learn new technologies, new frameworks, all of these things. So all the platform that you just mentioned, Coursera, all these MOOCs as we call them, right? They've been able to solve that problem. But enabling fundamental learning, right, like mental mathematics or science, so that is still something which, especially in India, we are yet to see anything which can potentially disrupt. But that just not is the problem of the startups or the products that they have, but it's also about market access or distribution, right? So
Priyadeep, come in at this point. What really for you, besides the problem of perception, do you believe is the biggest challenge that you have personally faced?
I mean, you know, the biggest problem for us as a startup has been raising money. Because you know, we started off with hardware as our mainstay of the business, and you know, when we tried raising money for that, people would be like, hardware education, I don't think this is going to work out. So you know, starting from there and finally moving on to, you know, tech-enabled education, I think realizing that you know that there is a fear in the market about, you know, that hardware-based you know, learning kits or tools are not going to you know, sustain or survive for a very long time was there. So that was a major problem. Secondly, I think, you know, there's also this the whole B2B versus B2C dilemma. So we were initially targeting schools, and making a sale was like a horrific experience for us. So out of the 800 odd schools we cold called, we were able to close about only 20. And you know,
why do you believe that happened?
That is over a period of.
Why do you believe that happened?
I think, you know, you can't blame anybody, but if you look at from a school principal's point of view, he or she is getting about, you know, 150 odd you know, collaterals or marketing material for different products that want to sell into their schools, and at one point of time they just give up. You know, they're like, I can't decide.
Mukul, would you agree that there is the problem of plenty? We are told that EdTech is one of those sectors that, you know, 2016 in India will be the year of the EdTech. Also sort of bring out the point that now so many people, so many ideas, so many people wanting to try something new. So problem of plenty, who do you go with? That often becomes a challenge for schools.
I'd agree to that, but I'll also make a very very solid point that it's a huge, enormous market, and it has so many people looking out for so many solutions that you actually cannot be a one product fit. This is not one of those markets, and everybody has their own individual needs. Personalization, according to me, is the key thing when it comes to education. Now, what I'll agree to Priya's point that the schools, they have a huge decision-making cycle and everything, and also the fact that the consumers and the customers are entirely different, and the medium is the tutor or teacher. That is one thing that actually led us to exploring the parallel economy of education in terms of tuition economies. Researchers show that almost 90% of the people now take up tuitions, and that is where we realize that somehow any solution that can come up digitally or just a pure online play, parents still want some kind of teacher or assistant to be teaching their kids.
You mean it doesn't have to be like sort of like a physical presence next to me? It can just be somebody supplementing what I'm learning. So what form is not important? Just kuch hona chahiye.
What form is important? So me and my co-founder call it as an emotional acquisition cost. So this is something that we have formulated just for the education sector, because even if the parents are very happy about the online solution, if they can't just tangibly and physically feel that there is somebody who can cater to the solutions, they become a little edgy.
As a society, this is the way that we are, you know, ingrained to it. Brick and mortar, teacher hona chahiye, maybe tutor sitting. Now we're looking at a different space, a generation that's totally tech savvy, perhaps sort of already on Google before the teachers began talking in the class and all of that. But again, being so sort of dependent on tech. I mean, as these are all tech startups, of course, and the crisis often is that someone sitting in, say, sometimes even tier 2, but definitely tier 3 cannot get that kind of access. You have bandwidth issues, you have this issues, connectivity problems and all of that. Despite Digital India, how do you see all of that changing? And those numbers, that volume is going to be key to the growth of this sector, isn't it?
Right. So, you know, what internet has enabled us to do is lower the distribution costs for content or acquire more customers, you know, sitting in one place. The same rule applies to education also, reaching out to those tier 3 tier 3 city students. But then again, infrastructure is an issue. We hope Digital India solves that. But at the same time, so technology is using some sort of offline plus online buffers, cache technologies, all of these frameworks to ensure that technology is not a problem while delivering content or engaging with the student. But then again, if even sitting in Delhi, these guys are not able to convince that there is a tangibility in the delivery of the service. I mean, with a poor infrastructure, poor bandwidth, all of these things, they are all challenges that need to be resolved.
That is a problem that you would want to get to the rural most areas. But the bigger problem is, have we been able to convert the metros yet? Well, I think there's a huge market which is yet untapped from a startup's perspective, even in metros.